Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us again for the next lesson, Sunday school lesson from St. Mary's. And of course, this is an extremely exciting week for, I suspect, most everybody, for the younger folks who are watching, and maybe for some of the older folks as well, because of course, this coming Friday, is Christmas Day. So this coming Thursday is Christmas Eve. So this is a wonderful time of year for families to celebrate. We may be celebrating a little bit differently this year because of the virus. We may not be able to get together with all the people that we normally get together with. And I know that sometimes people aren't able to travel this year to be with us for Christmas, but it's still going to be Christmas, isn't it? And it's still going to be an exciting kind of day. And of course, I think for many of you, one of the exciting things, maybe the most exciting part of Christmas, is when you get up on Christmas morning and there are magically a bunch of gifts under the tree, and you get to open those gifts and share those gifts with other people as well. But of course, we celebrate Christmas not because of Christmas trees or Christmas gifts, but we celebrate Christmas, of course, because of Jesus Christ. It's his birthday. And we want to spend a couple of minutes thinking about what it means for us to celebrate Jesus' birthday. And those of you who have had a chance to worship with us at St. Mary's know that on Christmas Eve, when we gather on Christmas Eve, we always tell the story about the birth of Jesus. And we often take the time to put the characters into the story, right? We build the story at the stable with the birth of Jesus. And I thought we'd actually do that right now for just a few moments. Janice has volunteered to read the story, and we've got some figures here to put them together. And maybe you guys have a manger scene at home, a stable scene at home for the birth of Jesus. And sometimes if you can move those figures, you can tell that story yourself. And I would invite you to take the chance to read the story and to put the characters into the scene when you celebrate Christmas. I'm going to show you this book, though. This is a book. This is a really cool book. It has lots of different scenes, but it has a scene for the birth of Jesus. But this is a pop-up book, so it's a really cool kind of book. One of my favorite books, and you'll see there the birth of Jesus, the stable, and you see lots of other really neat things. So Janice is going to read from this book, and as she's reading from the book, I'm going to put the characters into the story. And just a reminder that you folks can do that as well. I'm going to start actually by putting, and I'm going to do this backwards with you guys. So I'm going to put that there in the center because that's the stable right there. So I think we're going to invite Janice to read, and let me think now, before we do, maybe if it's a stable, maybe we have some farm animals already on the scene. Let me think now. We'll put a donkey here as well. There we go.
And it came to pass in those days that a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be counted, each person in his own city. So Joseph went to Bethlehem with Mary, his wife, who was great with child. And she brought forth her firstborn son, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes, and laid him in a manger, for there was no room for them in the inn. In that country shepherds were abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone around about them, and they were sore afraid. The angel said to them, Fear not, for I bring tidings of great joy for all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Saviour, who is Christ the Lord. You shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was a great company of the heavenly host, saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace and good will towards all. Then the shepherds said to one another, Let us now go to Bethlehem, and see this thing which the Lord has made known to us. So they came with haste, and found Mary and Joseph and the babe lying in a manger. And they made known to everyone what they had been told about the child. And all who heard wondered at what the shepherds said. But Mary remembered all these things, and pondered them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for everything that they had heard and seen.
There we go. That's a wonderful story about the most important gift that we've ever been given. Not one of the gifts under the tree on Christmas Day, but the gift of Jesus, the gift of God's love for us in his Son, Jesus. And there's all kinds of things that we can think about when it comes to Christmas Day. In addition to celebrating Christmas with our families, remember to celebrate Christmas with Jesus. We actually have a really neat craft for us to work on. I'm going to invite Janice to sort of clear the space here, and we're going to put together a craft with you guys. And it's a craft that picks up on the Christmas story. So if you remember from the Christmas story, the shepherds were in the field and they're minding their sheep, keeping an eye on their sheep, and then suddenly there's an angel who comes to speak to them. And we also know from the story of God about the star in the sky that showed them where to go, and later on showed the wise men where to go as well. And this craft is built on the idea of the angels and the star and that wonderful brightness in the night sky. And that's a great lesson for us. So we have some things for us to work on. You can do this craft with any number of different things, but I'm just using a little bit of heavier paper. You can use any color paper you want, or just plain regular paper also works. But what we're going to do is we're going to make a lantern. We're going to make a lantern for the story of Jesus' birth. And the first thing that we want to do is take the piece of paper from the short edge and just fold just a small little lip, about the width of my finger, maybe the width of your finger, something like that, just like that. So it doesn't have to be perfectly straight, just hopefully a little bit straight. And there we go. So I've just created just a little bit of a lip there. And then the next thing I want to do is fold the piece of paper in half. So there, that's folded in half. So there's the lip on one end and it's folded in half. And then what I'm going to do is take each half and fold the half in half. So I'm going to create 4 panels is what I'm going to do. So we begin this way and turn it around, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's all folded. There we go. So what I've done is there's that little lip at the beginning, and then I have 4 roughly equal panels. And this is neat because we can actually make more than one, but we're going to try making one today. I'm just going to fold that. So what we can do is we can actually cut this roughly in half, try to cut it roughly straight. And so what I actually have is I have one for later to do a second lamp, but I'll just sort of set that aside for now. So I have just this 4-paneled piece of paper. And this is the point where I'm going to start doing, I did one more thing I actually forgot before I go to that. That's right, I need the scissors. Once I have it all folded like that, I'm going to cut the corners off, just a little bit of the corner, just something like that. So one, whoops. And did you catch that? There you go. Did you catch that? There you go. And so when I open it up, it should look something like that. So see how it has little wedges at the bottom of each panel. And actually, this little wedge, this little bit over here, you don't need. So I'll just cut that.
So you just trim that off?
Just trim it right off. Try to trim it this way. Perfect. Okay. So there we go. There's our panels. Now what I'm going to do is do some drawing in the panels. And you can use a ruler if you want, but it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. But what I want to do first is create 4 rectangles, 4 little places for the drawings to take place. And I want them to be roughly the same distance from the top. So I'm going to draw a line right here, roughly a centimeter from the top. This is the time when the pencil stops working. There we go. Okay, there. There we go. So what you'll see I did there is I do 4 lines. I'm trying to leave roughly a centimeter from the top and a centimeter from each of the sides of the panels. And I'm going to do the same at the bottom, above where those little wedges that we cut out are. And just to say, you can use a ruler for that if you want to, just if you feel you need it just to be straight. But you'll see how I have two lines, one at the top, one at the bottom. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw lines in the other direction and create just a little box.
Connect those lines in each one.
That's right, exactly. Connect the top line to the bottom line in each panel. So making a little rectangle. There. So you'll see how that works. So I have 4 rectangles. And now I'm going to put little images in each of those squares. And I'm going to put 2 stars and 2 angels. And they're really, really simple to make. Sometimes you think, oh my goodness, how do you draw a star? Sometimes it can be complicated, but it's really, really simple. What I'm going to do is put a little dot in the top of each, in the center the top line in each of the squares. So you'll see, maybe you'll see
Really
there's
small.
just a little dot, so I can use that. And then I'm going to draw a straight line from the bottom of one corner, the first panel, all the way up to the dot. And then I'm going to draw a line from the dot all the way to the other corner. So what I've made is a sort of an upside down V. So it's just like that, really simple. And I'll do that over on the third panel because we want to have two different images and we want 2 stars and 2 angels. I think I'll go this way just to help make it straight. There you go. There, see how that worked? And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this on all 4 panels. I'm going to draw a horizontal line all across the panels. So about 2 centimeters down from the top of the box. So 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 there. So you'll see how in 2 of the panels it looks like sort of like the letter A, doesn't it? Just a little bit like the letter A. So I'm going to finish, those are the stars. So I'm going to finish that. So what I'll do is then draw a line from the bottom corner to the opposite arm. We think of those as the arms of the stars. I'm going to draw a straight line there. And I'm going to do the opposite, going from the opposite corner going up to the other side. So,
Star.
as you can see, there it is, a really simple star. I'll finish up the other star while I'm here. Okay, well, this one will go like that, and this one will go like that. So there you go. There are 2 stars. Now I'm going to work on the angels. Angels are really quite simple also. But for me, we want to do the head of an angel. And what I did was I actually used a quarter, depending on the size. You can make this out of any size paper that you have. If you have a larger piece of paper, like a piece of Bristol board or something like that, you can make a really large one. That would be really cool. But you probably need something a little bit larger than a quarter. You could use a toonie or a loonie or something like that. I did that for the head just to help make a round figure for the head. So I'm going to trace that quarter to put a head on one angel. And then I'm going to do it a second time on the other one. I'll show you that in just a second. There. Okay. So you'll see how the angels have a bit of a head at this point in time. But now we're just going to give them some wings and something to wear. So we're going to give them a bit of a body. And I'm going to again put just a little dot in the center of that arm. See the lower arm, the lower line I made. I put a little dot there, and just like I did with the stars, I'm going to go from the bottom left corner up to that dot, and then from the bottom right corner up to that dot. And do that the second time with the other one. So I'll show you that. So you see how it's almost looking a little bit like the star in some ways. So it's similar to that. And then all I'm going to do is actually put the wing. So I'm going to go from the left side of the box where the arm comes over and just draw a little bit of a semicircle and do the opposite on the other side. So if you see what I did there, see how I did that? Just went from one side and did a little semicircle, then the other side. I'll finish it off with the other one. Okay, now, so that's what the panels look like when I've done the drawing. Now I'm just going to start this out. I'll show you something here because we don't have as much time as we would like. But what you want to do now is you want to cut out the parts that aren't angels or aren't stars. So for example, this part here is not star. That part there is not star. That part is not angel. That part's not angel. So you cut them out. You have to be very careful because you have to use something that's really quite sharp. So a knife like this, or some folks will have, oh, here it is right here, a knife like that. But you absolutely have to have an adult helping you with that. You also have to be careful too because you have to have something underneath it because you don't want to put a mark on the table or whatever it is you're working on the floor or whatever you happen to be working on. So you want to be very careful to have someone working with you because these are quite sharp and you wouldn't want to cut yourself. So I'm just going to start this and show you how it works. So I'm going to do one part here. One of the important things when you use a knife like this is, and when you're holding the piece of paper, always make sure that your other hand is not in the path that you're going to be cutting, because if it slipped, you slipped in your hand. That would be nasty.
It would hurt.
It would hurt. And so you make sure, in this case, my hand that's holding the piece of paper is on the other side of the knife. So there we go. And we're going to cut along the line here. You would need to make sure when you cut the angel's wings and arms, and when you cut the arms of the star, that you leave enough on the side. You don't cut it right to the point, because you want to be able to hold that in. See how that came out really nicely? I'll just do another one very quickly here. Get my thumb out of the way of the knife, because I'd like to keep my thumb.
Or just not get it cut.
Or just not get it cut. That's right. And yeah. There. Oops, I have to be careful, more careful than I was. There, trying to take that out. There, perfect. Oh, that's come out very nicely. So you see how that works, right? Now, we won't do all of them right now, because what I did earlier is that I did one earlier and cut all the little pieces out. And now I'm going to show you how we put it together. So we don't have glue stick, but we have tape. So you can do this with a glue stick or with glue. We're going to use tape anyways, because we don't want to have time for it to dry. So what you do? Remember that little lip that we put on the end? That's what we do to create a square lamp. So we put that together like that, make it square, and we're going to put a little bit of tape there just to hold it together. So I'll show you how that works. So there we go. So that should go roughly like that. Okay, and I'm going to put another piece. And that should go roughly like that. So you see how we have created a lamp. Now, what I'm actually do is take it apart for a moment. Oh, maybe I won't be able to do that. I'm going to try to do that, because we want to do something before we actually put it all together like that. I'll do it this way here. I'm going to borrow this. There's something a few things we want to do before we do all that taping, because I just wanted to show you how that worked. There. So that's how it's going to go together. But before we do that, we want to be able to put some things in here. So we can put a number of different things in there. Sometimes you can use cellophane. So this is a piece that we had. Sometimes it comes in a pattern like that, or sometimes it just comes in a solid color. That would be really neat. Or you can use, this is another kind of fabric that will show light as well. But you can also use tissue paper. This tissue paper has some interesting colors on it. And that will allow light to come out, because we want it to be a lantern. So I'll show you, I'll put that little piece down there. And I think my tape dispenser here, Janice is going to dispense tape for me.
You have that on.
I do. That's right. So I'll put that one there. And I'll put a couple more, or 3 more in fact. You want to put, if they have this one has a sort of a bright side and a not so bright side, and you want to put the bright side out. I just about tried to put the wrong side out, but thankfully Janice saw that. There we go. And there we go. And we'll do that again. Oops, get the piece of paper first. There we go. Perfect. And there we go. And one more. There we go. And there we go. So that's see how they have colored, and we're going to put a light in here eventually.
It really makes them stand out.
It makes them absolutely stand out. So I think we're back to taping this section again. Get my fingers out of the way. I think I'd rather tape the lantern and not my fingers. And we'll do that again. So, that tape could be a little bit better. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So now I have something a little lantern, but we want to put a little, not a lantern if it has a hole in the bottom. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of cardboard, And I made it the same width of the same width as the lamp. I measured the piece so it would be the right shape. And I think what I'm going to do is put a piece of tape there. And I want to, there, I'll try it this way. And you can do this with a glue stick as well. As I say, it's just a little faster to do it with.
It's time to dry if you use a glue stick.
That's right. There and there. So if I put this down here, so I put some tape there, and then I'm going to put that with the tape side down, and that has created, see how that fits in the bottom? And if you're able to, you should be able to, with your fingers, tape them at the bottom as well. We'll just take a moment to do that. That'll help hold it into place. As soon as I get that, maybe I'll get you to do the tape there. Please. Pretty please. And there we go. And I'm going to pat that down nice and tight. There. So now we have made a lantern. But we have to do one other thing, maybe a couple of things first. And I think the first thing is, could I have just 4 little pieces of tape about centimeter and a half long? Well, that was only 1.4 centimeters. That's 1.5 centimeters. That's good. So I'm putting them on the opposite sides of two sides. It could be the star side or the angel side, but it doesn't matter. But I just put it on opposite of 2 sides. And because what we're doing is I'm going to do that just so we can actually put a handle on this. So a little hole punch. If you have a hole punch, that will work really well. But you could do this with scissors or something. As long as you're careful, you could do that with scissors. Plunk. There's a hole. But I put the hole where the tape is because that will reinforce it. It'll make it stronger. Otherwise, it might tear. And then I have a piece of yarn or a piece of string. It could be. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it this way. You can tie this a number of different ways. They're all good ideas. But I'm going to just tie it this way and then run it over here like this and tie it this way. I think the yarn is just probably slightly longer than I need it to be, which is good. I can just trim off the edges. So there's my scissors. There we go. There. So we have made a lantern with some tissue paper, and then what you would have, and you can only do this if you have those small candles, which aren't fire candles. They're not flame candles. They're battery candles. So there is, you just spin it, I think. Look at there. See how that goes? And then I set that in the middle. We're not getting, you might be able to see it a little bit. Actually, if we turn the light off, I wonder if it would actually make a difference if we turn the light off. You might, we're getting too much light. But if we're nighttime, what we'd actually see is we see the light coming through the tissue paper. And depending on your tissue paper or your cellophane paper, you may be able to see quite a bit of light. So that's a neat way of making a lantern with the stars and with the angels. And that's what I want to wrap up with this, as you think about Christmas this week and the birth of Jesus. Because sometimes, I don't know if it happens with you guys ever, but if you're in a strange place, and it's nighttime, for example, and it's dark and there's no light, sometimes we want someone to help guide us. Or if things work out well, maybe we have a flashlight, or maybe we use our phone and the phone will give us a light as well. Or we turn a light on outdoors so we can see where we go, so that we don't bump into things and hurt ourselves. Well, Jesus is a light for us. So sometimes in our lives, maybe we're a little frightened or a little worried. Maybe things aren't going well, and we feel that we need someone to help guide us. We need a light so that we don't bump into things and hurt ourselves. And that's what Jesus is. That's the gift of Jesus in Christmas, because Jesus comes to be the light in our hearts and the light in our lives, to take away the darkness and to take away all that fear, so we'll be able to go about our lives with happiness, with joy, with love, and with peace. So we think about the angel speaking to the shepherds, speaking about the birth of Jesus and the bright sky that lit up with the angels, and we know about the star and the bright star in the sky as well. It's a reminder that at Christmas we remember about the gift of Jesus who comes to be our light in our lives so that we can live our lives happier and safer, with more love and with more peace. So we invite you to work on those crafts. I'll send out some stuff for you folks to also work on some other ideas. Actually, I'm going to send out something. I'm going to invite everybody and their families, if you can, to put on a pageant. Sometimes we put on a pageant in church, right? But of course, this year we've not been able to do that. So she's going to get the door. Last week I had to get the phone. This week she's going to get the door. So we weren't able to put on a pageant this year, but I invite families. This is a very simple kind of skit that you can work with your family. So I invite you to work on that all through the season of Christmas, because Christmas starts on Christmas Eve, the 24th, but it goes for 12 days. So there's lots of Christmas and lots of time to celebrate. So thank you very much. Wish you all a very happy Advent, fourth Sunday in Advent, and a very Merry Christmas as well. Bye now.